Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Chipod Ironicast, your August 2016 episode. How is everybody doing today?
I'm excited about a lot of things, but also tired. I'm tired before we even do the 24-hour stream.
Yeah. This is a marathon of a week for you. At work, it is the Saints Row anniversary event, streaming every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you're streaming this podcast live to our Patreon backers of a certain tier. And this weekend, for 24 hours, you and I and Voiburger and my wife will be streaming the entire Gex series for 24 hours. Gextra Life, raising money for Hurley Children's Hospital in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, I should also mention, yes, I did get the Gex novelization. And yes, I did also manage to get the How to Draw Gex and Friends book.
Oh, wow. I bet they are both spoiler-filled, so I don't want to crack those.
The novelization is a massive 80 pages long, so yeah. So, I mean, you know, so some Gex fans I know are probably upset there wasn't enough Mushu pork in the book, but
you have no idea.
I've seen a little bit of that world, which I didn't know existed.
I'm trying to figure out how to rope them in. Like, I don't know what hashtags they follow. I asked one a question about Gex, but they never got back to me.
Oh my God, but they seem to be so into Gex. I thought they would respond to anything that had to do with Gex.
Now, I know in all likelihood, you, the podcast downloader, not the live audience, are not hearing this until after Gextra Life. So I'd like to thank you retroactively for coming out, sharing the day of the gecko with us, and hopefully donating to a great cause, Hurley Children's Hospital. If you live in the Flint area, there are 3 hospitals to choose from. Hurley is everyone's third choice. Mm-hmm. If anybody could use the support, it's them.
Definitely, especially since my mom works for Hurley. Like, she's not a doctor, but I know about a lot of the stuff that goes on at Hurley, so they could definitely use the help.
All right. So let's get into what we're actually talking about today. You want to start with our gaming topic?
Yeah. So, Platinum Games.
Yeah, what about them? People keep asking if we're going to LP every single game they make.
No.
So don't lie to me. That is an absolutely true statement I made.
It's the so I've seen people talking about Platinum recently, partially because last year's E3 was the year where everybody prior to that was joking, this old IP should come back. Yeah, well, it should probably just be developed by Platinum Games. The joke being like, oh, whatever they touch is going to end up being like amazing and ridiculous. And then last year's E3, it got announced, they were helping with Star Fox. They're doing Nier 2. They're doing a Transformers game. They're doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. You know, they're doing all these crazy games.
Scalebound has actual footage, for better or worse.
Yeah, Scalebound and all that. So it's like, everybody's wish is coming true. People are actually just having Platinum make all the games. But now, all of a sudden, I've seen on several places I frequent, like, a lot of people going, man, Platinum ain't what they used to be, because the games they've shipped in the past few years have all been basically licensed games for Activision. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I don't know, I just think it's really weird that, like, I don't know if it's the common thing that, like, the group idea of what Platinum Games is now, but yeah, I just feel like everybody has, like, this weird narrative going on right now that they're in decline. Mm-hmm. And it's weird just because everybody's just taking it face value. Like, okay, Transformers was pretty decent. Korra was bad. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was bad. And then Star Fox was pretty
polarizing.
Pretty polarizing, too. But it's just because I feel like most people don't seem to understand that, like, no matter how good a dev is, like, if Naughty Dog were for some reason contractually obligated to develop I don't know, G.I. Joe game for Activision or something. I don't even know if they own
and then
that
another
license.
game for Activision 9 months later,
And then another game.
one.
Yeah, like you can't make a really good game of anything other than a very small scale in that amount of time and like still have it, you know. They're taking what they've already made from their more popular games. Like the Transformers game just straight up has witch time in it.
Right.
Like a lot of the mechanics you see in their other games they made, you know, that had a lot more dev time, those mechanics are basically being plucked and put in different things. Korra had some unique stuff. Transformers had unique stuff as far as like you could transform as an attack. But like, yeah, when you're making especially an Activision game, you know, they do a decent amount of licensed stuff. Like it's really hard to put out something amazing, especially when like, you know, you have like 9 to 12 months to make a Ninja Turtles game that also has to be 4-player co-op online.
Right, yeah.
Like they have a reputation for putting stuff out quickly, but that's also because like if you look at Transformers or Ninja Turtles, all the levels are super basic and sometimes you go to those levels multiple times, but as different levels. Like they throw all of their work into just making sure like the animations for whoever you're controlling are good looking and responsive, and like the core combat it works. And then everything else, like you can totally tell it's like, okay, these levels are very boxy and all this. So I don't know. I just feel like it's really weird how everybody thinks like, oh, they're in this big decline when it's like they haven't actually put out like a quote unquote real game since Bayonetta 2. Because, you know, generally if they want to do that, you're waiting another 2 years before one of their big games come out. Like the next big actual real thing from them that isn't a licensed thing is both Scalebound and Nier 2. And people have seen Nier 2, then hey, it looks pretty damn good. Like I'm actually mildly suspicious that what they're using for Nier 2's combat is what was scrapped for Metal Gear Rising 2. Because there are some things that look very Metal Gear Rising-ish without just being straight up copy pasted. And I'm really curious if they like took some work from that and
that can be nothing but a good thing. I mean, and if you've got the work lying around, use it, right? Like,
yeah, totally. However, I will agree with one thing, and that is just Scalebound looks real weird. You remember Scale? You remember what it looked like in last E3, right?
Yeah. A giant crab.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Some limp quipping, a lot of headphones.
Yeah, Scalebound's the one game I just have not. It's the first time I've seen a Platinum game that wasn't like a licensed thing where I was not sold on it.
Scalebound, I really like seeing it next to Final Fantasy 15 because one, it looked better by comparison.
Yes.
By a lot. But also I imagine the two groups of bros having, like, how would they interact? You know?
Yeah.
You think they get along? They probably get along.
Yeah, probably. The Noctis looks. Maybe, I feel like Noctis would maybe get annoyed with Scalebound dude. Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like Noctis is one of those dudes who likes to listen to the classics and does not appreciate dubstep whatsoever.
I feel like Noctis is one of those dudes who think the classics means Green Day.
I agree with that, actually. Did you know that even...
No, man, Welcome to Paradise is a really good song. Yes, that is true. It is still not the classics. I'm sorry. I am sorry.
No, I have to do it in the Noctis voice, though, which is a little more like this. It's a little more like a JRPG protagonist was smoking a lot while playing pachinko. Or at least that's what he sounded like in the demo. I don't know. Actually, that reminds me, one more Final Fantasy thing. Did you know that even when that game was in development hell and like had vanished, they actually put out a Final Fantasy 15 branded perfume simply titled Noctis?
It sounds like the name of a perfume. It sounds like that's how they came up with it.
I actually heard the name Noctis from something else recently that wasn't anime at all, and I was like, fuck, that's... Somebody wants to use that name? I mean, okay. I mean, I also associate, like, Noctis to me also sounds like some kind of Ecto Cooler knockoff. Like, you know, Man, I wish Noctis would come back. That was great when I was a kid.
No, it sounds like what you put in your car to supercharge it if you can't afford NOS.
No, trust me, this off-market Noctis will be just as good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, I just accidentally kicked the eject button on my 360, and I was spinning a disc at me, and that was on. Why are these buttons so sensitive? Jesus. It's a touch-sensitive button, but it felt my toe through a sock. That's not how that should work. Okay, it's fine.
It really wants you to play something, perhaps something by Platinum Games.
Well, Nier's in there right now, so it's close. If we're Nier 2, sure.
Just put a Sharpie on there. It will become Nier 2.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Nier 2, that's going to come back in our last topic of the day, I think.
Oh,
I just realized that could apply there too, so, okay. But yeah, I don't know, I've just been thinking about Platinum lately just because every time I hear somebody talk about them now, it's no longer like, man, if you just gave them that IP, they would make something great. And now it's just like, man, they're not what they used to be. It's like,
that's what happens when you give them too many IPs.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like...
You buried the poor folks.
Yeah, when people also credit Star Fox as being one of Platinum's failures, but... The other thing is that, like, yeah, Platinum's logo is on the back of the box, but they didn't do, like, any of the gameplay. Last I heard, all Platinum did was they assisted making, like, the graphical assets and, like, the music. They didn't actually touch the game design at all.
Wait, hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you get Platinum to do that? Like, not that they're lacking, but if you're going to get them to do one thing...
Yeah.
Why is that the thing?
I don't know. That's what I've heard. I could be mistaken, but the other thing I do know is that even if they had been fully in charge of the gameplay design, they still probably would have been hindered by Miyamoto's vision of having it be motion controls. Mm-hmm. Because that's like the thing I've been hearing from reading interviews and stuff is mainly like Miyamoto had this unwavering, like, no, this game has to have motion controls in it thing. And like, speaking of like people going like, oh, this game developer is in decline. The other thing I have heard, and I believe slightly more, is like, oh, Miyamoto's like declining. He's not a great game designer anymore. Just because like all the stuff he's done recently has been related to Star Fox and like motion control gimmicks. Mm-hmm. And also like there were like Iwata Asks or whatever, those segments Nintendo used to do that were just like developer interviews.
Going to be real hard to make one of those these days.
Yeah. It was like developer interviews they would do in the several years ago, and like there was an interview with the people who made Paper Mario Sticker Star, and they talked at one point that like, the Paper Mario games have all generally been really well received, partially because of like their cute characters and like the charming dialogue and the humor. And Sticker Star has very few named characters outside the already established ones. Most of the NPCs are toads that all look the same, and there's very little actual story aside from like filler, fluff, jokey dialogue that isn't as good as like, Thousand Year Door or something. And through those interviews, like it was revealed that like Miyamoto had this mandate or whatever that like games do not need stories. And so he told the team to cut down on this story. It doesn't need to be that much for it to be a good game. And so then like that Sticker Star game just like had like one of his biggest like qualities that people like just like cut down.
Mm-hmm. Well, how many of those people worked on Super Paper Mario? Because then, like, they clearly need to be reined in. That is,
I would definitely say Super Paper Mario is like on the other spectrum where it's like, hey, God, what was the name of the like ultimate
Count
bad
Black.
guy? Count Black, not Count Black, the guy who's like the true villain in the end. It was like Dementio or something. He was like the green jester guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry for the Super Paper Mario spoilers. Also, Luigi's like the chosen one and like the catalyst for the Doomsday event or whatever. It's amazing. It's so good. He's like a brainwashed villain for the first 3/4 of the game. He's the last party member you get, and then he gets sucked up into the final boss to create like Satan or something. It's so good. That's the only part of Super Paper Mario I'm really into, aside from the dating simulator part.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's the best part of that game. Anyways, that's not Platinum at all. Unless Platinum did want to make a dating simulator game based on Paper Mario, in which case I would be interested.
I cannot wait to see how you parry someone's advances.
Well, it's not explained very well. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. It's if anybody's here listening to this, like you've been thinking like, oh man, it sucks. They're like going down the tubes. Like just wait until like Nier 2 comes out, because that looks hot. Mm-hmm. And
Scalebound can turn around.
I believe Scalebound can turn around.
It might just be one of those games that's more fun in your hands than on the screen.
Yeah, I'm also just partially believing that the things that have been chosen to be shown are just not. They've always been really small slices of the game, to the point where I don't think they're indicative of what the game really is.
Right. And then you just think back to stories like how Wonderful 101 was like half the game it turned out to be.
Yeah.
Even very, very late in development.
Yeah. And it's like, when they showed it at E3, the gameplay demo was like, yes, okay, so you're fighting this big crab with multiple other people who also have dragons. But like you could see the supposed online players doing all these cool backflips and fighting the crab. Well, for some reason, and I don't know why this was done this way, the actual player character in the demo just stood really far away from the crab and just shot like completely ineffective arrows at it very slowly. When it's like, I know you have a dragon, motherfucker, and I know you can do backflips. What are you doing? Like, oh, and Kaneda in the chat saying, I don't own an Xbox One, so I can't play Scalebound. Well, guess what? It's coming to PC also.
Whoa!
So is Nier 2. Nier 2 is also coming to PC.
Whoa!
Which is nice. Now I'll be able to play both of those, and they'll run really good. Hooray. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody just has to wait and, wait for their big projects to come out, because I think that's where, you'll still see the same quality in them. Also, apparently, this is the other thing Platinum's doing. They're trying really hard. Like they've explained why they're doing all these Activision games, and it's because it gets them money. Surprise. And they're trying to get enough money so that they can self-publish their own games. And they want to do this because they want to make their own intellectual properties, because despite, making several really cool IPs, they own none of them. They don't own Bayonetta. That's Sega and like kind of Nintendo. Wonderful 101's Nintendo. Metal Gear Rising's Konami. Like all of their games are owned by multiple different publishers or developers. Mm-hmm. So they don't have the rights. Even if they wanted to make a sequel, like they don't have the rights to unless they got approved for it. Like, and that sucks for them. So I mean, I hope the Activision games are a worthy sacrifice that lets them make their own stuff and like not always have to answer to other people.
You got to work a lot of overtime to save up and open your own storefront.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what's going on with Platinum. I feel like I haven't talked about them really in a while either. So, because everybody asks me like, are you going to LP?
I feel like you've been saving up. Yeah,
I have been saving up, and I
can tell.
Everybody's asking me like, are you going to LP Bayonetta 1 and 2? And my answer is actually no. Like the weird thing with Bayonetta is like, I really enjoy those games. Are a lot of fun, but I wouldn't want to LP them, because one of the things when I LP games is I generally also LP stuff where I, even if it's not good, I enjoy or I find the setting and plot of the game interesting. Mm-hmm. Like that's a big part of why I enjoy games, and Bayonetta is not one of those. Bayonetta just has cuts, is one of the only series I've ever played where I actually on first playthrough want to skip cutscenes. And I'm a person who harshly judges people who skip cutscenes in the first playthrough, because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It's probably stupid, but watch it at least. You paid money for this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bayonetta is just like a whole bunch of nonsense with zero characters I find likable. Remember how Luca was pretty annoying in Wonderful 101?
Yeah, Luca was a bit of a thing.
He was kind of annoying. Okay, now imagine if he were about 20 times more annoying and he had 3 times as much screen time. That is how annoying the supporting character who looks like some kind of Yu-Gi-Oh motherfucker is in Bayonetta 2. I cannot stand him.
Mr. Yu-Gi-Oh must have so many dead moms.
Yeah. But, yeah, so no, I'm not LPing every Platinum game. If there was anything you would see me do next, it would probably be Nier 2, which I'll come back to in a later topic.
So now that we've defended the honor of our corporate idols from the internet.
I will only do this sometimes. I promise.
It's time to come to the middle segment. Mm-hmm. You know what I really enjoy? And you know what I'd like to talk about really enjoying?
History.
No, I have a completely separate show for that.
Okay.
Which I plug on this show every month, it seems.
Topography.
You know what? Sure, that
All
rhymes. Right. No, I love maps. Maps are the best. Some people walk up to me and they say, you know what? I really enjoy maps. And I say, no, wait. You don't love them like I love them. Maps. No? Okay.
No one loves maps like you.
No, I actually was pretty into maps for a little bit too. Probably, almost definitely for different reasons than you, I bet, though. So let's hear it.
Sure. Okay. I just think it's fascinating the way that they condense a physical space, like the totality of reality, into a flat piece of information. They're basically, maps are the first infographics, really.
Right, yeah.
And they have one job and they do it well, unless they don't. I love looking at the way perspective changes your perspective. Like, say, Richard Eads Harrison is a guy you probably haven't heard of, though you've almost certainly seen his work. He started drawing images of the globe. They technically aren't maps by people who care about what technically is and isn't a map, but
right.
Who cares? People use them as maps, so that's the important thing. He, instead of following the standard projections, he looked at a globe, spun it around, and found the angle that made his point best. So like in World War II, people are like, why the hell is Eisenhower putting troops in Iceland? Well, if you look at the world turned this way instead of your big rectangular Mercator projection, that's why.
Uh-huh.
If you look at this angle that does not appear in nature except to maybe a low-flying satellite, you will see how difficult the Allies will have, how difficult a time the Allies will have crossing the Mediterranean to get into southern Europe.
Huh.
That sort of thing. And he redefined the image of the world by being the first to use a polar projection, which moved the Soviet Union so very, very close to North America, whereas anything oriented the normal way, it's so very far.
Right.
Like the Cold War, the imagery of the Cold War, and I guess the United Nations logo are really indebted to this one guy, Richard Eads Harrison.
Huh.
It's so cool. Another way that I think maps are interesting is not just the way they represent reality or argue for a view of it, is the way they, in a sense, control reality. And my favorite example for this is theme park maps. Yes.
Speaking of theme park maps, I've been looking at the fucking Disney World map a shitload because I'm going there.
Yeah.
on Christmas.
It's great, isn't it? Their interactive thing on the website.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm getting there.
Oh man.
So Disney parks have been around since the 50s, and because there are nerds for these things, you can find images of the maps, and they're really cool. And so you can chart, obviously, like history of attractions and expansions and things, but also the history of the imagery that they use to represent themselves. In the beginning, it's very abstracted, just big blocks of color with logos for landmarks dropped in there. It doesn't look anything like it does on the ground. It's just a way to orient yourself so that you're looking up and around you and becoming immersed. Mm-hmm. And then there is a time starting around the 90s where things got very painterly. Things got kind of, what's his name? The guy who paints all the cabins with the light.
Oh shit. What's his name?
Thomas Kincaid.
Thomas Kincaid. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at a Magic Kingdom map from the 90s, it's got a weird Thomas Kincaid vibe.
Oh, weird. I got to see that.
So like it's very detailed, very lush. I'd hate to have to use it to find where I'm going in a park.
Yeah.
Because it's its own little art piece. And so now the message is that you are in this wonderful magical place and you're part of this perfect system. Mm-hmm. And just look how big and composed it all is. It's impressing you on the flat as well as up when you look around.
Right.
But now they've transitioned to their print maps are exactly like their online maps, and it's this fake Google Maps thing.
Yeah.
Where new details come in as you zoom in or out. So I guess Google Maps, Google Earth has redefined what a map is, and they've decided to just get in on that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there was a point where I was looking at lots of map stuff. One, because like I went to college for graphic design, and there was like an infographics part we did where it was just like a lot of map stuff. Like we actually had to make a map at some point. Mm-hmm. Or it was like a map for like, oh, make it for like this touristy place or something. Make sure you convey this information, blah blah blah. And it's I don't think I have my map anymore, but it's weird because even back then, it was probably like 2008 when I was doing that, and even map design from then to now looks pretty different. In that I remember like everything now is like even more stripped down. Like it's really just like it is just like the Google Maps thing where it's really just there to convey where the things are, like black and white. It feels like really abstract almost because like I look at those maps and I don't really see the place I'm at, but it'll get me there still.
Here's mid 90s Epcot guide map. Imagine, like, look at all that lush detail, but then try to figure out where the heck you are and where you have to turn left.
Fuck, God. Yeah, I love looking at these maps, though. I mean, they're not great for what they should be doing, but I love looking at them.
Mm-hmm. Another great thing about theme park maps is how they just erase. They don't represent anything they don't want you to know is there. So like if you do go to say the Disneyland official map, have the Google Earth image side by side and see all that extra stuff, all the show buildings, all the access roads. But when you're inside, you don't see them because they block your sight lines. So why would they show them on these other things? They simply aren't part of the world.
Yeah. I was actually looking at like the Disney's interactive map and like the actual Google Maps thing a few weeks ago with Voidburger, and it's every time I was looking, it's like, what the fuck is that though? It's not on the map. What is it? I think the big thing I was really into was topographical maps.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Like I've never been a person who enjoys going outside too much as far as like outdoorsy hiking style stuff, but I was pretty into baking and reading those topographical maps for like maybe a year before a new video game came out. And summer was no longer boring. But yeah, I remember, did you ever have to do outdoor education at our high school?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. That's right. I had to take it because it counted as like a gym credit, and I was fucking sick of taking gym. But yeah, that class was nothing but either me playing Ace Attorney or reading topographical maps and then going out into the forest by the football field. And then going like, well, the forest is actually not that big. Let's go back.
It wasn't that big of a forest.
It was pretty small. You could walk there in like 10 minutes. Pathetic forest.
Actually, one thing about that complete control of like what you see and what sort of secrets you're let in on about Disney maps. If you look at other parks, they do the same thing.
Right.
Like say SeaWorld Orlando, you look at their guide map, it's surrounded, the park proper is surrounded by just this green lush forest.
Right.
You go there, it's not there. Like you get on anything tall there, you just see the parking lot, you know it's a lie.
Yeah.
Not the case at Disney parks. They actually make...
Yeah, Disney Park's pretty good to be actually surrounded by what they're showing you for the most part.
They keep the illusion consistent. They're lying to you exactly the same amount all the time. Maps are great.
Yeah. I also were you ever the person who just drew fake maps?
I did not, which I guess makes me an aberration as far as dungeon masters go.
Okay, yeah. I was one of those kids who would just like do the little wiggly hand and just like make fake ass continents and shit all the time. Mm-hmm. I probably should have gotten into doing tabletop gaming stuff back then because I was really good at making fucking sweet ass maps. I had a map that was top side and bottom side a sheet of paper. And so there was like one specific part of the map where I guess I was like trying to plan out a campaign or something despite never playing D&D ever. And it was just like, oh, if you found like this secret area in this part of the map, whoop, you flip the paper upside down. Now you're on the like other side of like this flat continent or whatever. So the bottom side of the paper was the other side of the world. I thought that was pretty fucking rad as a 12-year-old.
Actually, yeah, fictional maps are also great. And I love that there are plenty of games out there where you create one in the act of play. Like,
Yeah.
Original D&D, of course, had Mapper as a player role, but I'm thinking more of things like Apocalypse World and Dungeon World, where draw maps, leave blanks is one of the rules. Or The Quiet Year, which is a game where you play through 1 year shortly after an apocalyptic event as a whole community, and every action you take is marked by drawing something on the map.
Oh, that's cool.
So instead of the map still represents reality, but in this case, it's a fictional one that is entirely defined by the map. You can't check it against, looking out the window in this case.
Right. Huh.
It's great. So yeah, go play The Quiet Year. It's fun.
Yeah, that actually sounds kind of cool.
Or listen to Friends at the Table's current season started with a The Quiet Year session.
Oh, okay.
To define the setting that their heists, which are the main portion of this season, are all about.
Ah, okay. I just haven't been able to check them out yet. Don't have the time, unfortunately.
I bet Austin Walker likes maps. I mean, he better. He had them play The Quiet Year for his game.
I'm going to assume Austin Walker probably likes maps. Now, if it was a Gundam map,
whoa
there. Transforming, combining robot map.
It's also like like what we talked about a second ago, how the Google Maps, Google Earth aesthetic has defined map making for a while. It's fun to see maps as a way that carry like ideas, like actual meme theory sort of memes. You know?
Yeah.
In the Metal Gear sets.
Yeah. The memes.
Like, I went to the Bristol Renaissance Fair a few weeks ago, and there's a stand where dude's just selling a bunch of maps that are drawn in sort of a style mostly like, you know, the Tolkien hand-drawn stuff inside the dust jacket of Lord of the Rings books.
Right.
But like they're actual historical things and also fantasy worlds and all sorts of business. I got one of Ela Newbar from Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Both. They both take place on Ela Newbar. So it's fun to see how just that look became what fantasy maps are, to the point that you can make bank by drawing Hyrule that way. Even though it has its own very, you know, recognized brand identity for what the map looks like.
Yeah. Oh, man. I want to make a map.
Of what?
Just a map. I don't know. Just fucking go for it. See what happens.
There was even an episode partially about figuring out maps in the most recent Doctor Who season.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. The part of the mystery is about finding a trap street, which is a thing map makers would include a fake street so that doesn't actually exist, so that if anybody stole their copy, they know.
Ah.
So if you copy my map, I will know because I know where to find the intentional mistakes. That's what a trap street is.
Okay. I did not know that was a thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's some DRM right there, old school.
Oh, man.
So there's some quick facts about maps. I encourage everybody to look up Richard Eads Harrison and just think about how this thing we take for granted as a factional representation of space really does shape our impression of what that space is. Because, I mean, it's not, right? Like,
Yeah.
for it to be, it would have to be drawn to a 1-to-1 scale, and then you could never unfold it because it would just cover up everything. You wouldn't see the sun anymore.
Man, it's so hard to fold this thing back up. Once you get it out, you better just leave it there.
I mean, it even calls to mind the expression, you know, hey, put this town on the map. Like for all practical purposes, we didn't exist until we were drawn on this map.
Right.
Think about it.
Whoa.
Fucking maps.
Wow. That reminds me, I just saw footage of, on Watch Dogs 2 today.
Uh-huh.
Their map is just straight up Google Maps now.
Nice. Does it look like the Bay Area?
Kind of. So I don't know that area super well, but from
There
what
is a bay.
Yeah, there's a bay. From what I've seen other people say, they've said that the small bits they've shown in videos seems to be at least more accurate than their Chicago was.
Their Chicago was more accurate to the 5 boroughs than it was to Chicago.
Yeah. So, yeah. It feels like they at least did more research on, like, oh, what should this look like and what district should be like what.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe they'll do a better job, but fucking God, Watch Dogs. Speaking of sequels, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Speaking of sequels.
I just thought of that.
There we go. What would you like to speak about sequels?
Yeah. Sequels
Would
of
you
video
like,
games.
Would you like to speak about the let's playing of sequels?
Yeah.
Because
right.
that's its own different beast, isn't it? Why don't you talk about that for a second?
It kind of is. So, yeah, we've there's this thing where if you do a Let's Play, at least for us, of a game.
I'm sure a lot of people get it.
And you know, people enjoy it, but it's part of a greater franchise with a lot of sequels. You're gonna get asked to do all of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
so when's Mega Man Legends 2 coming?
Oh man, I mean, I've been thinking about it, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I guess it kind of sucks sometimes because then it's like, oh, now we're trapped into doing all of these. But I mean, personally, for me, all the games I've done was like, oh, there's sequels too. I've always wanted to LP the sequels, and that was generally my intention. But yeah, it does feel. It is different, like, just instead of just LPing a game, like LPing a sequel, because now there's this weird thing that I deal with where I'm like, okay, should I just assume people watching this have watched the LP of the previous game or have played the previous game? Or do I need to, like, recontextualize everything for people like it's completely brand new? And, like, especially with Metal Gear, that's a really weird one because there's so much baggage with it.
Yes, so much you could talk for hours about the plot. While falling all over yourself.
Oh boy,
and making popping noises.
That was the best part. So yeah, and it's like, it's also just weird because, like with Uncharted, we had to, like, we LP'd Uncharted 1. While we were LPing that, Uncharted 2 was already out. Still fairly recently, but once we did Uncharted 2, like, we had to wait for Uncharted 3 and 4 to come out. And so now there's like this big gap of time between the Let's Plays. And now all of a sudden there's like a big gap in like our audio quality between each game. And it's like with Metal Gear, we did them in a real weird order that wasn't series order or chronological.
I think it's the definitive order, though.
Almost, yeah. If I could just switch MGS 1 and 2 around, maybe.
No? Everybody else should conform to us.
Okay. And yeah, it's just whenever I just start doing a sequel, I'm always just thinking about how much I have to, like, remind people what happened in the previous game or not. So, like, when I was talking about Nier 2 earlier, so, you know, everybody, and this is, like, not even just sequels, like, to franchises. Sometimes it's just like, oh, the next game of developer we like, or whatever.
Right.
So, like, with Platinum, we always get the question, like, are you going to LP Bayonetta 1 and 2? No, probably not. Maybe I'll stream them sometimes, but not full playthroughs. But, okay, so let's say, I mean, I do not know I'm going to do this because, like, maybe the game won't be good, but I really like Nier. Now there's a Nier 2 that's also being co-developed by Platinum Games. That probably really sounds like I'm going to want to LP it at some point, maybe. Probably. I don't know. Now I'm really interested in mainly doing an LP of 2. But wait, that game's very story-heavy and is also very strange, and I feel like you cannot appreciate Nier 2 or Nier without also knowing of the previous works like Drakengard. Now, Drakengard's a bad game, but having the context of that game, I think, makes Nier 2 a lot more interesting. Now what am I gonna do? Ah, fuck.
And eventually you're back to, like, Computer Zone and Pac-Man.
Yeah. God. So, like, I've actually given it a mild amount of thought. Like, okay, if I really like Nier 2, and it's not somehow like its completely own standalone thing with very few references to previous works, which I highly doubt. Now I'm going to have to do some kind of LP of Nier. But doing an LP of Nier means I would need to do some kind of LP of Drakengard. No fucking way am I doing a full Let's Play of Drakengard. Now it sounds like, oh, maybe I do some kind of, like, heavily edited compilation video that gets you the gist of the plot and setting of Drakengard that I can spread across, like, 2 videos or something. And then I go do, like, a shorter form LP of Nier where I don't do all the side quests because they're basically pointless. Then I can get to Nier 2. Like, what the fuck? Maybe I shouldn't just do it at all. It just snowballs with me personally.
Right.
It's always just like, well, I did the first one. I should probably do the next one, huh? The only thing I think I've done that has a sequel that nobody really clamors for is Condemned.
That's true. Yeah.
Condemned's the only one where I've only gotten a couple questions over, the past like 6 years since I did the Condemned 1 LP, where people have been like, hey, are you going to do Condemned 2? I think maybe a total of 4 people across those 6 years have asked me.
We get a Metal Gear Solid 5 request per day, I think, on average.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I'm really excited to do the MGS5 LP. I haven't done it yet because the game is so big.
Or not so much a request, just like a request for an ETA, really.
Yeah, the ETA is, I don't know. Because here's the other thing, too. When you start doing sequels, sometimes you start thinking like, well, how can I do this better than the last one? Mm-hmm. And so I have ideas for the Metal Gear Solid 5 Let's Play that are kind of ridiculous, but it would require collaboration with several other people and money involved. But I have ideas I think would be really cool if I could do them, but like these ideas are also not like a, hey, you want to hop on a video with me thing? It's more of like a, hey, you want to help me produce a thing? And then that turns into maybe this project should probably start months before the LP does so it can be ready in time.
Maybe.
And then like that stuff's like, oh God, I don't want to think about it right now. Good night.
I think the question to LPing a sequel is how to make it distinct from your first LP.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, generally you're going to be with probably the same characters, probably the same setting,
similar
probably
gameplay.
doing a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And like, so like a Let's Play, the product is a collaboration between yourself and the game.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, the game has set itself apart enough from the first. I think, say, No More Heroes 2 is while obviously being the same game again, still very distinct. Like,
yeah, totally.
That game was in our corner on that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess doing a sequel adds extra players into that collaboration. You're now working with 3 or maybe 5 things. Us and the 4 Uncharted games have all been put together to make the Uncharted 4 LP.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the very first episode of the Uncharted 4 LP, like I think this LP and the game itself pays off a lot more if you're familiar with the previous 3 games, because like that whole chapter with Nate in his house has a lot more impact when you've gone through those previous 3 games.
No, you want to talk about a payoff in that video? Okay. Do you know what your first joke was in the first Uncharted?
No.
You said you joked around that it was the new Crash Bandicoot game.
What? I did?
Yes.
Holy shit.
It came true.
Oh my fucking God. Wow, that's some great payoff there, and it wasn't even intentional. Oh my God.
You peered into your crystal ball.
I did. I guess I did. God. Yeah, I've actually seen a couple comments on that episode, episode 3 of the Uncharted 4 LP. We're just walking around the house and stuff, where there were several people who said, like, the only connection I have to these games is through your Let's Plays, and I got misty-eyed watching this episode.
I mean, I can say exactly the same thing.
Me too.
There's a record.
I mean, I did the same thing when I first played it.
No, you played them. You have a connection beyond our LP. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's why the Uncharted 4 LP is definitely worth doing, just because I think it really does differentiate it. Like, we haven't seen all, we've only recorded like the first 6 episodes, but I think it does a really good job of differentiating itself a lot from the previous 3.
Do you think that's why we haven't done or don't currently have plans to do, say, Condemned 2? Like, Condemned 2 just isn't enough of a different animal from... It'd just be more Condemned.
No, actually, I would say Condemned 2 is still something I want to do.
Okay.
So yeah, Condemned 1 was the only one of 2 subtitled LPs I've done. The other one being Rez. Condemned 2 I still want to do because, okay, Condemned 2 actually is fairly different. Tone-wise, it goes from being like the weird horror thing where you fight homeless people into turning into a grunge movie with horror undertones, where you do 5-hit combos on crazy homeless people who have covered their entire bodies with spikes and junk from a junkyard.
I mean, yeah.
And
sure.
You fight...
as you do.
Now your character's an alcoholic, and you do fight your alcoholism in the game. And when I say that, I mean it quite literally. The game has an interesting tone because it's slightly more action-oriented, especially by the end of the game where you actually have a couple guns. And because there's no context for this, I'll just spoil it right out. Just put fingers in your ears if you don't want to be spoiled on this late game thing. You do gain the ability to scream so hard people's heads blow up.
Okay, I think I'm down.
It's when I say that, I like literally you just scream really hard and their heads blow up. There's nothing greater to it. Like, it's not magic really. You're just screaming real good. It's different enough.
So if we did do a game because we liked it and thought it was interesting,
yeah,
but it had a sequel that was like the Madden sequel of not sports games,
right?
Do you think we would ever get around to doing that sequel?
Probably not. No.
Yeah.
I feel like
there you go. There's a nice, clear, concise answer.
I feel like every time we've done a sequel, it's always because the game's been different enough that it's worth doing for one reason or another.
I mean, I guess if you zoom out to like a conceptual level, the Uncharted games aren't that different.
I would say Uncharted 2 and 3 are pretty similar.
Yeah.
But 3 was still worth doing because it does have a couple cool moments and the set pieces were like on another level.
Mm-hmm. And it's got Cutter, so.
And it has Cutter, and he's pretty fun for the short time he is there before he is cut out of the game. Wow. But yes, actually, here, speaking of the Metal Gear 5 thing, somebody tweeted at me just today, 3 hours ago, I heard you the MGS guy. Where is MGS 5?
Well, a lot of it's in Africa.
A lot of it's in Africa, yeah. Like, don't worry, calm down, it'll happen. It's just... There's a lot of planning involved. Look, it's a Metal Gear game, except now it's open world, so now there's like 18 goddamn ways to do every single thing. That's a lot of re-recording and editing I'm going to have to do. All right? Mm-hmm. Fuck.
Choose your snake. Make every video a choose your own adventure thing.
Oh, I kind of thought about that, but it'd just be too much work.
Homecoming LP style, where people get to see the snake they want.
I thought about that a little, but we're probably just going to have separately named snakes that have their own play style. I don't want to spoil too much, but they got some good names. I got some good ideas for them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you are deep in pre-pro for this thing that probably won't exist for a long time.
It's been in pre-pro for like fucking 6 months. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I play this game during my lunch break at work sometimes, and I have like a notebook full of notes for like how I should edit this. And like, on top of the other things, like, I did the Watch Dogs LP partially out because it's like, oh, it's in Chicago. That'd be interesting, being that you're from Chicago and you know a shit ton about it. And also, like, okay, it's an open world game. We've never done one of those before, really. The closest is No More Heroes, and that doesn't really count.
No, that was kind of the point.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. Let's do an open world game because that'd be... I want to see what the issues are tackling something like that, because like every time I put out an episode for one of our Let's Plays, I try to make sure that like something happens in each episode and that it's paced decently. which is weird when you're doing a game itself that does not pace well, like Watch Dogs, a game that spins its wheels for 75% of the runtime. So Metal Gear Solid 5 is really weird in that, okay, yes, there are lots of there are cutscenes and story events, and certain missions trigger when you do other missions. But depending on how you play that, so much of the story is triggered by how the player chooses to do stuff that you could go a really long time without any cutscenes happening. So now I'm like trying to figure out the best way to pace different parts of the game so that something's happening at a decent clip always, so that I have to do less editing that way.
The MGS5 problem is separate from the sequel problem.
Yes.
But it's more like you've become the director of the film that is the Let's Play.
Yeah. It's weird because before,
and later you have to become the editor of the film that is the Let's Play.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we've generally done Let's Plays of other games, like the game just has a pacing and you go along with it. Uncharted and most of the Metal Gears stuff would happen in a good, 30-minute chunk, and you could just put that video out and then there you go. But now it's like, oh, there's a big open world thing where everything's kind of wobbly as to when it happens, and there's no clear guide saying like what triggers them, so you have to kind of figure it out. Like, oh god, it's no longer just playing the game; it's like playing the game and also directing a show that the game is in.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, what advice would you have to somebody who is going to do an LP of a sequel to a game they already Let's Played?
Well, one, if it's got a lot of games and it's something heavily connected by plot and continuity, I hope you're ready for the long haul if people like your stuff. Just try to find something new you can do each time to make it more interesting. Or like with the Metal Gears is what caused us to do cut and uncut commentary. Like, we had not done that before our Let's Plays, and like halfway through Metal Gear Solid 2, it's like, no, you know what? Like, there's different audiences that want different things. Let's try and, do something here that makes both of them happy. And I don't know, just kind of mess around with the format when you do the next game to see like if there's a better way to present it, or there's a different way of showing it off than you did last time.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, like, not only does the game have to be distinct to justify itself, you've got to sort of do the same. Like, say Uncharted 3, I don't think, and I'm probably wrong, I don't think I made any jokes about Sully being just a walking sack of STDs. Because I realized toward the end of Uncharted 2, I ran out of them. I was fucking done. I was spent.
Yeah.
Got to do something else.
I don't think we made too many of those in the Uncharted 3 LP, but it's fuzzy now. If we did make a couple, there were a lot less than in 2. They've come back a little bit for 4, but they won't be around for long, I think.
No, I definitely remember making a bunch of jokes about him being a scuzzy old man, but those are adjacent.
Oh, okay, yes. Just the STD ones. Yeah, those ones I think fell out after 2.
Because, like, he is a scuzzy old man.
He's like, just.
You can focus on different kinds of scuzz, but, like, that's the fact of the character. That's not something we made up. Like,
yeah, that's just Sully. That's just what he is. You can't take that away from Sully.
So, yeah, just find something that you did and, I don't know, change it. Like, if it's something you overdid, reel it in. Or if it's something that worked, but you only realize how well it worked in hindsight, lean into it. Something, yeah.
And I mean, sometimes that's literally just like, different types of... Your commentary is different. Even that can be enough for some things. Like Uncharted 2 and 3 are pretty similar, but I think I think by the time we did Uncharted 3, our commentary was a little different than what we did back for 2.
And I mean, I'm saying this like starting like an LP is a unified thing. Like if it goes on for 2-3 months or more, you're going to change in the middle of it. Like
I mean, hey,
life.
Uncharted 3 didn't have any meta commentary plot on top of it like the beginning of Uncharted 2 did.
Yeah, the end of Uncharted 2 didn't either.
Yep. Oh man, those Blip TV jokes.
Hey, we liked them.
I still, out of all those, the one I still like is the Logitech
The
arrow
Logitech arrow. Yes.
pointing the way. That's the only one I'm still like fond of. Oh man.
So there's a reflection on Let's Playing sequels.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because just the nature of the medium, the way it interacts with another medium, it's layers, it's recursions. There you go. So we got some letters. Where can people send some questions if they want us to answer questions at this time in the show?
Send us your questions to Chip Cheesem at chipandironicast.com.
Thank you. We got one from Jamie. Jamie says, "Hi guys, love the show. Keep it up." Well, thank you, Jamie.
Oh.
But there's also a question. Which do you tend to value and admire more, knowing a lot about a little or a little about a lot?
Whoa.
Jamie seems to be asking a very general question and has unleashed the hounds. We got some broad boundaries here. We can talk a lot about a little in this question.
Yeah. Okay, so when I first saw this email, I picked it because I thought it was going to be a slightly different question because the title was just breadth versus depth. And I thought this was going to be just about video games. But, I mean, I can kind of apply it to that. I feel like knowing a lot about a little is generally what I've been into. I mean, hobby-wise, I have like 2 real big hobbies, video games and then like video editing.
See, I'm going to go the other way. Because if you know a little about a lot, you can fake it.
That's true. You know, if you know a little about a lot, you could probably do really good at getting a lot of different types of jobs. So I'm just saying, you know.
No, I'm talking about just like impressing people at parties.
All right. Okay. Yeah, sure.
If you know a little about a lot of things, you can be that guy everybody hates. But sometimes it feels so good to be that guy. That's my philosophy right there, Jamie.
All right. I mean, if I was going to apply this to... When I first read the thing, I thought it was just going to be out games. I thought it was going to be a... Do you think games are better being something really wide and shallow or something really small but like focused and deep in that manner? And that's why I originally picked this, because I was like, oh boy, I have lots of things I could say about that. Although I guess I could sum it up pretty quickly as I have been a person who has generally valued something that is more focused, but has more depth to it, or has more attention to detail put into it, rather than something really big but, you know, pretty shallow, like a lot of open world games.
If you wanted to put it in stark contrast from our library, like Metal Gear Rising versus Watch Dogs. Yeah. There's also a matter of one being just much a better piece of work.
Yeah, totally. But I think even just going, even saying like, okay, the best of each of these worlds, I would still probably gear more towards the smaller thing that might have more depth, like story wise, or, you know, depth as in like greater quality in the design of individual missions, as opposed to an open world game where they have to have more cookie cutter missions where you do them repeatedly because they have to fill out the world with things to do. So, you know, they make 8 different mission types that you can do in different spots, and, you know, they're all basically the same, but there's a lot of them to do. I would rather go the other way where there's less to do, but it's more unique, it's more detail oriented. Also, just because I think when you go the other way, like with open world stuff or really big, wide open, you can do anything style projects. When you go more that way, I think it's a lot easier to falter and end up with something that isn't what you wanted it to be.
Right.
Like you're aiming for the 60-hour epic that has lots of repeatable activities, a really big map, and 40 missions or something like Watch Dogs. And it's like, well, because of that, it's going to take a lot more time and money than if you did something that was 10 hours long.
Right.
And was point A to point B, or maybe even slightly wider open, like a Last of Us. Those levels are a little more wide open than like an Uncharted is, but it's still 15 hours tops. And I think I value a game like that a lot more than a Skyrim, which is a lot more shallow with an illusion of being like wide open, but like, is it really? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it to me, at least. Know a lot about a little. That's what I'm into. Ask me anything about Metal Gear, but nothing else, please.
But meanwhile, I'm going to take the other tack and get to be the pseudo-intellectual of the group.
All right.
That's my job.
Party tricks.
I look at that picture of Kamiya and Kojima like hugging.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that could be us, but either way.
Basically, yeah.
I don't know.
Which one wears the biker jacket when they're younger?
Oh.
Which one poses next to their mom in a biker jacket?
See, I feel like you'd pose next to your mom, but I'd be in the biker jacket.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm saying. You cut them both in half and mix them up.
Oh man, that's a really good picture of Hideki Kamiya, though. Yeah, if people listening to this have never seen the picture of Hideki Kamiya posing next to his mom in like a tough like biker gang jacket, look it up. It's like one of the first pictures that comes up if you search him. It's great.
It's pretty great.
It's an amazing picture.
While we were talking about knowing a lot about a little or a little about a lot, listener and person we met and dog lover, that Pazuzu, just tweeted that, let me find it again. I impressed a customer and my boss today with knowledge I gained from History Honeys. So there you go. My strategy's helping others.
All right.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, this is probably the same Jamie that writes into History Honeys most weeks.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I mean, you just copy and pasted the text. I'm guessing. There's a lot of Jamies in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe.
It's not the only question we got, though.
Oh, right. Yes.
Luke sent us a very kind message with a question that I think got answered earlier in the show, but as a second follow-up question, your C2E2 panel was very fun. Have you got any plans to host another Let's Play panel? Well, Luke.
Oh.
We just got approved to do not so much a Let's Play panel, but a live recording of this very show. Chipod Ironicast. We're going to be recording it Sunday, the first Sunday in October. I believe that's October 1st. Maybe it's October 2nd.
Yeah, something like that.
October 2nd.
October 2nd, yeah.
We will be recording that month's Chipod Ironicast live for a studio audience of ValorCon in Chicago. This is a gaming convention, and it's going on second year that I attended last fall. I had a nice time. I talked about my experience on an older Chipod Ironicast episode. If you want to look that up, you can check it out at valorcon.com, VALORCON.com, and it's being held the weekend of Friday the 30th through Sunday the 2nd at in the upstairs rooms of Macy's on State Street, which is never not going to be funny to me.
Yeah, that's pretty entertaining. Maybe I should buy something at Macy's while I'm there. I don't know what I get, but
You can get anything. You can get shoes. You can get a wedding dress. You can get a sofa.
Well, I
don't
just
know
bought
how
a sofa.
I don't know how many of those things you need.
Oh, by the way, my sofa is probably going to end up getting delivered during Extra Life. Whoops.
Oh, that will be value-added content.
Yeah. I mean, hey, at least you guys will have a sofa sleeper once that's delivered, though. That'll be pretty nice.
So yeah, those of you in or around the Chicagoland area, or if anyone's planning a vacation around that time and this is helping you nail down your dates or whatever the heck, we would be glad to see you there.
Yeah, man, it's... How many years ago did we do the C2E2 podcast panel now? 3 years?
I want to say that was 2013?
Maybe. I think. Man, maybe it has been 3 years. Jeez.
Oh, it was 2014.
Oh,
I just
wow.
found the YouTube
Okay.
video.
All right. Man, only 2 years then. Feels like forever ago.
It's been a long 2 years.
Yeah, it has been. Oh, man. But yeah, oh, actually, we got one other thing I want to mention. I don't even remember what podcast we did this in, but I think at some point... oh no! Actually, rereading this email, maybe we did not ask for pictures of people's babies.
Oh?
A viewer sent us a picture of their baby, specifically their face, the face they were making while they were listening to our latest podcast. His name's Isaac, and he looks very confused.
You know what, Isaac? If I was 4 months old, I'd still be seeing everything for basically the first time. I'd have that same look on my face.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Isaac, you are hashtag relatable.
That's some good content, that baby. Now, if there's some way to monetize this child, I'll find a way somehow. But yeah, if you want to send us questions and emails and stuff for us to answer on podcast, send them to chipcheesem@chipandironicast.com. Looks like we've gotten a decent amount since the last podcast, too.
Cool. So just a thank you to Luke and Jamie and Isaac's exploitative adults for sending us all of those messages.
Yeah. I'm tired now.
Okay. Good night, folks.
I feel like I should take a nap. Oh, boy.